with us the second part of chapter 1, the platform sutra. The fifth patriarch wants to transmit down to the next patriarch and ask his disciples to compose the verse. Who will be the next one? Let's find it out today. Now, let's welcome Lecturer Lin.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your wonderful introduction. Good evening, masters, my brothers and sisters. I feel very honored to be once again invited to share this topic, Platform Sutra Chapter 1, and hopefully we can finish the second part of Chapter 1. And last time, we were on this slide when we know the head monk Shen Xiu had written his verse on the wall of the southern corridor, and the fifth patriarch instructed all of the disciples to recite it. But Master Huineng heard a boy recite the verse. He immediately knew that the author had not realized his true nature. However, he was so humble that he wanted the boy to take him to the verse to make obeisance to it. So at that time, it was then that there was a Jiangzhou Biejia, a Jiangzhou prefect, a deputy prefect of Jiangzhou was there, and he read the verse out loud for Master Huineng. And after hearing it, Huineng said, I also have a verse. I hope that you can write it down for me. And then the deputy prefect said, you've also composed a verse? How unusual. But at that time, if ordinary people might feel humiliated, but sixth patriarch, Master Huineng, he turned to him and said, if you wish to learn the Supreme Bodhi, you should not slight beginners. These words really show us that a true cultivator, allow me to say some Chinese, 真的不卑不亢, not arrogant, not too humble. He just said out loud righteously, if you wish to learn the Supreme Bodhi, please, you should not slight the beginners. Because the lowest of the low may have the most profound wisdom. Here, low means position. The lowest of the low means people in very low positions may have the most profound wisdom. And the highest of the high may be without spiritual intentions or have lapses in their wisdom. So if you look down upon others, then you are committing an unlimited and infinite sin. Well, these words are very serious. If someone looks down upon others, then he is committing a very serious, is committing an unlimited and infinite sin. And why is that? Because in terms of Buddha nature, everyone is equal, regardless of our status, regardless of our ages, our gender, our nationality, our skin color. And if we look down upon others, that means we look down upon Buddhas. So then we are committing unlimited and infinite sin. So the deputy prefect answered, then please recite your verse. I will write it for you. And remember, if you attend the Dharma, if you become the next patriarch, if you attend the Dharma, you must save me first. Don't forget what I say. And then here comes the very, very famous, formless verse written by Master Huineng. He said, my verse went, essentially, Bodhi is not a tree. The bright mirror is also not a stand. As compared to the verse written by Shen Xiu, we know Shen Xiu wrote, the body is the Bodhi tree. It's like a bright standing mirror. Already, Shen Xiu's verse already very, very good. But Master Huineng's verse is ultimately formless. He said, essentially, Bodhi is not a tree. The bright mirror is also not a stand. So fundamentally, there is not a single thing. He completely understands the meaning of emptiness. fundamentally there is not a single thing. So where could any dust be attracted? So it is so famous, the ultimate verse. Then what would fifth patriarch say about this verse? The fifth patriarch used his sandal to erase the verse, to everyone's surprise, because after the verse was written, everyone around there was astonished and couldn't help singing with amazement. They said to each other, "How extraordinary! We should never judge a person by his looks." It's just like a saying that we should never judge a book by its cover, right? 不可以以貌取人，不可以用一本书的封面来判断这本书的内容。So we should never judge a person by his looks. It won't take long for him to become a living bodhisattva. But the fifth patriarch saw that so many people were getting excited, and the fifth patriarch was afraid that someone might harm Huinan. So the patriarch erased the verse with his sandal and said, he too hasn't seen the true nature either. We know all of them were cultivators, and they were living in a monastery. And it was difficult to imagine if people who want to cultivate, they even gave up their worldly enjoyment. They were in pursuit of the truth, but they were ambitious for the position of the patriarch. And they were even jealous of someone who was able to become the next patriarch, and they might even harm him. And their sacrifice, their pursuit of the truth is totally contradictory to their jealousy and to their ambition. So we can see sometimes people might cultivate Tao with worldly desires. And with such attitude to cultivate Tao with worldly desires, sometimes we might feel jealous. We might feel ambitious. And with such attitude, how can such people be able to attain the ultimate enlightenment? So fifth patriarch, afraid that those people might harm Master Huinan, so he erased the verse with his sandal and said, he too hasn't seen the true nature either. And all the people accepted this. See, all the people, they were, even though they were ambitious, they were jealous, but they were obedient to their patriarch. They were very obedient to the fifth patriarch. But the next day, the patriarch secretly came to the mill where he saw Master Huinan with a rock tied to his waist. We know Master Huinan was, his body weight wasn't heavy enough, so he has to tread the pestle. His body weight was too light, so he tied a rock to his waist, and he was pounding the rice. And fifth patriarch said, many practitioners forget their bodies for Tao. Is that how it is with you? This is a very, very famous quote from sixth patriarch's Platform Sutra, 为法忘躯. So describe a practitioner, a cultivator who is so devoted, so concentrated as to forget his own physical body. And in this kind of attitude is very different from the ordinary people, because ordinary people value their physical bodies. They might indulge in the worldly enjoyment and forget the true meaning of life. But a true cultivator, they want to fulfill their vows, they pursue after the truth and even forget their physical body, 为法忘躯. So fifth patriarch said, is that how it is with you? And he then asked, is the rice ripe yet? When we talk about the rice ripe, we might think is the rice cooked? 就是说这个米是不是煮成饭呢？is the rice ripe? Is the rice already cooked? But here, ripe doesn't mean cooked. Here, ripe means threshed. So six patriarchs say, the rice has been ripe for a long time, just waiting for the sieve. Here, this word sieve, of course, translated from the Chinese character shai, and the lower part of this character is teacher. So he said the rice already ripe for a long time and waiting for the sieve. Actually, he implies that he is waiting for the teacher. So there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. You know, when six patriarchs were pounding the rice was put in a mortar, and he used a pestle. He was treading a pestle to pound the rice to separate the outer skin of the rice from the inner grain. So the rice, in order to be completely threshed, the rice need to be pounding for many, many times. And that implies the meaning of a true cultivator. If a cultivator who wants to be mature enough to understand the true meaning of Tao, he or she may have to undergo many, many tribulations and tests and trials. So this is really a very good, 这是一个很好的比喻 very good 比喻 Use a 筛子 a sieve to imply a teacher, and before using the sieve to separate the outer skin of a grain from the inner grain, the rice needs to be pounded for many, many times. It's just like a true cultivator need to receive a lot of tribulations and tests in order to understand the truth. So the sixth patriarch said, I'm just waiting for the sieve. And the patriarch struck his staff on the mortar for 3 times. What is the mortar? This was how six patriarch treading the hulling pestle. This is the mortar, and the rice was put inside of here, and he was treading the hulling pestle, and the rice need to be pounded for many, many times in order for the outer skin, outer husk to be removed, and then he need a sieve to separate the inner grain from the outer skin, and the sieve, he implies the teacher. So the teacher, the fifth patriarch, struck his staff on the mortar for 3 times, and immediately sixth patriarch understood. He instantly knew that what his teacher meant. He then entered his room at 3rd drum, namely the 3rd watch of the night, about 1 a.m. And then when he entered the room, the patriarch, the fifth patriarch, used his robe as a screen and would not let anyone see it. He preached the Diamond Sutra for Master Huimen. And when we read this verse, we might think, the fifth patriarch just gave a sermon on Diamond Sutra. But if he was only giving a sermon on Diamond Sutra, only expounding Diamond Sutra, why did he need to use his robe as a screen to screen the room? So he must have done something else. And actually, we all understand that during that time, actually, he transmitted Tao to Master Huimen. So here, the patriarch used his robe as a screen. This this action is the purpose of using the robe as a screen is actually the same as the purpose of the invocation ritual in a Dao receiving ceremony. We know in the Dao receiving ceremony, the Dao transmitting master need to perform the invocation ritual to invite heavenly guards, bodhisattvas, Buddhas, angels to protect the temple, to ensure the smooth proceeding of the whole ceremony. And most important of all, to protect the heavenly secret from being seen by any spirit. But at that time, fifth patriarch did not perform the invocation ritual. He used his robe instead to screen the room and would not let anyone see it. And when he reached the point where the Diamond Sutra says, do not dwell upon anything and let the mind be present. 应无所住而生其心. Do not dwell upon anything. And what does anything mean? Anything means six dusts. 色身香味触法. Do not dwell upon six dusts. Do not dwell upon our sights, sounds, or smells, tastes, touches, and thoughts. And let our mind be present. When we think of if we do not dwell upon any six dusts, then maybe are we sleeping? If we are sleeping, then we kind of just do not attach to the six dusts. But here in Diamond Sutra, do not dwell upon anything, do not dwell upon the six dusts, but let your mind be present, let your mind be awakened, let your mind be aware of everything, because you are returning to the origin of your mind. Your original mind is now functioning. Let the mind be present. And at that time, sixth patriarch thereupon said to the patriarch, who could have thought, because he experienced a great awakening, and then he said to the fifth patriarch, very, very famous 5 verses. When he attained enlightenment, he praised his true nature with 5 verses. Who could have thought, 5, who could have thought? He said, who could have thought that true nature is originally so pure and clear? Because we know all the sentient beings living in the sea of suffering. This is so-called sea of suffering. We are all in great trouble. But who could have thought that our original nature is so pure and clear? So all we have to do is to restore our original nature, and that's enough. And who could have thought that our true nature is originally neither created nor destroyed? You know, especially under the pandemic, we see lives gone. We see lives destroyed. But who could have thought in the world of birth and death, our true nature originally neither created nor destroyed? And who could have thought that our true nature is originally complete? Everyone lacks something. Everyone think he or she might be short of something else. But who could have thought that everyone's true nature is originally complete, never lacks anything? And who could have thought that true nature is originally unmoving? You know, especially during the pandemic, the outbreak, the domestic outbreak. Now, everyone, we are not going anywhere, so it's the best time to get online and to share our Dao, our insights on Dao. Everyone's heart is restless, is so unsure and full of doubts. Maybe someone who is a confirmed case, and he is beside me. Everyone was so full of doubts and suspicions. But who could have thought that our true nature is originally peaceful and stable, unmoving? And who could have thought that true nature can generate the merit dhammas? We are now learning a lot of sutras, about the holy revelations, in order to increase our Tao knowledge in order to be able to not only cultivate ourselves, but also to preach Tao better. But who could have thought that inside our true nature, we already have myriad sutras. We are already full of wisdom. So these are 5 very famous verses that Master Huineng praises his true nature when he was enlightened. And as we all have received Tao, but do we praise our true nature in the same way? Well, maybe yes, or maybe not, or maybe completely the same. And the difference between us and Sixth Patriarch is that Sixth Patriarch is cultivate first and receive Tao next. And we receive Tao first and cultivate next. So Sixth Patriarch, when he received Tao, he was fully enlightened upon receiving Tao. But we need to, after receiving Tao, we need to go through the journey of 学修讲伴行 in order to someday we can be enlightened. So because of his great awakening and his 5 verses of praising the true nature, so the 5th Patriarch knew well that Huineng already was enlightened. Knowing that I had been enlightened to my original nature, the 5th Patriarch said to me, if one does not recognize one's original mind, studying the Dhamma is of no benefit. Another very famous quote, 不是本心学法无益. We usually use this quote when we are sharing the lecture in Tao seminar, the analysis between Tao and religions. We always quote this verse to emphasize. To receive Tao is very, very important. If we do not understand the origin of our mind, then it's useless to study myriad dhammas. And 5th Patriarch said, one who realizes one's own original mind and sees one's own original nature is a person of greatness. A person of greatness means it's a person of wisdom, a person of kindness, a person of courage, 智人勇兼备. And he is a teacher of deities. He is a teacher of heavenly deities and humans, and he is a Buddha. And so during the 3rd watch of the night, 6th Patriarch received the Dhamma. No one knew of this. And the 5th Patriarch then transmitted the sudden teaching. 顿教, usually English Westerners, they translate it as sudden teaching. And this translation is not perfect because some people might misunderstand that, this teaching is tell you to be awakened all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, but just to teach us to be awakened directly. Not go through long and winding road, but go through a shortcut directly, but not necessarily all of a sudden. So we can translate it as a sudden teaching, or we can translate it as a direct teaching, 就是一步直超. The 5th Patriarch transmitted the sudden teaching, not just tell people to do good things, bear a good heart, but tell his disciple to be awakened to his own true nature. And the robe and the bowl, transmit the robe and the bowl, and saying, now you are now the 6th Patriarch. Protect your thoughts carefully and save sentient beings extensively and spread the teachings for the future, and do not let the transmission of the Dhamma to be cut off. I feel that in Chinese, 善自护念, 广度有情, 留步将来, very concise, very short, but very important, cover 3 aspects completely. 善自护念 means 内圣, inner cultivation, because 修道修心嘛. So if we want to cultivate, we need to cultivate our thought. So we need to protect our thoughts carefully. But if we only protect our thoughts carefully and we are not compassionate about other people's suffering, then we are very selfish. So we need to extensively save sentient beings. So 广度有情就是外王. And then if we do 内圣 and 外王, and then after we passed away, and everything come to a stop, then it's not good enough. So we need to pass 道棒要传下去. So we need to pass the torch of Tao generation after generation. So 流布将来. So for the future, do not let the transmission of Dharma to be cut off. And fifth patriarch said, also very famous quote, cast seeds in sentient beings. Because of the ground, the fruits will be born. Insentient objects have no seeds, no Buddha natures, no realization of Buddhahood. There are many different explanations of this verse, but I feel that this verse actually has only one key point. The key point is 有情, 有情. 有情 in English we say sentient beings. 有情 means 众生. So so-called sentient beings, so-called 众生, that means someone who has many emotions, who have many desires, and who are completely lost and far away from the right track, from the track toward leading to Buddhahood, so-called 众生嘛. So maybe drawn in the cycle of the endless reincarnation. But think about it, 有情, all these emotions, all these desires have an origin. And the origin of all the desires, all the emotions is Buddha nature. Without Buddha nature, sentient beings have no life. Without life, there is no desires. There are no desires. There are no troubles. There are no emotions. So Buddha nature is the origin. So all the Buddha, the heaven, God and Buddhas never give up upon any sentient beings because they know very well, every inside of every sentient being, there is perfect Buddha nature, intrinsic inside. So they will patiently cast seed to inspire the Buddha nature. They will patiently preach the truth to inspire the seeds of the Buddha nature inside of a completely lost sentient being. And because of the ground, the fruit will someday be born. And the ground may be referred to the journey of 学修讲伴行. So we all have received Tao, and then we need to learn, need to cultivate, need to preach, need to propagate, need to practice. And during the journey, we will gradually, little by little, closer illuminate our Buddha nature if we are a true cultivator. So the key point is 有情来下种，因地果还生. And then what about 无情亦无种，无性亦无生? Well, it just as a balance. 无情亦无种，无性亦无生 actually has no precise meaning. It's just a balance to as a 对照组，就像对照组一样啊。无情亦无种 means if we see a plant, 一个植物，一株植物 a flower or a stone or a mountain, all this, no matter a stone or mountain or even a phone or computer or desk or chair, they don't have Buddha nature. They are life. They don't. We know a plant has life, but a plant doesn't have Buddha nature. So since they don't have Buddha nature, they are insentient beings. So they have no seeds, no Buddha nature, no realization of Buddhahood. So that's why Confucius, when Confucius travel around the world during that time, they think they think China was the world. When he was traveling, and some hermit wants him to give up because they thought that all the kings, all the emperors, they are so full of ambitions. They are not. They won't listen to Confucius. So all the hermit want Confucius to give up. But Confucius said, I won't make friends with the animals, with the birds, with the animals. I want to make friends with the people. If I don't make friends with the people, then who will be my friends? Who will be my friends? Because Confucius knew very well, even though at that time, so many emperors, so many politicians, they were full of ambitions and desires, and they were torturing all the people. But Confucius knew very well that inside of those lost desires, they are Buddha nature. So he never gave up on all those people. You know, heaven, God, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas never give up on any sentient being. So we need to learn this. So try patiently to guide, to help, to 成全 any Dao member, no matter how they are and how their fasting, their vows, whatever, we do our best to accompany them, 跟他们一起成长, because one day, because of the ground, the fruits one day will be born. And then the fifth patriarch further said, when great Master Bodhidharma, Damo Zhu Shi, first came to this land long ago, people did not believe in him yet. Therefore, he transmitted this robe as a symbol of faith. And it has been handed down from generation to generation, because this robe is something material, and it will disappear one day, and already been handing down generation to generation. But because people did not believe someone from India, because Bodhidharma was from India, so he needed to transmit the robe, something visible, something tangible, to earn people's trust. But actually, the robe is not the important thing. What's important is the Dharma. The Dharma, though, is transmitted from mind to mind, because the Dharma is invisible. The Dharma is formless. The Dharma needs to be comprehended by heart. So the Dharma can lead those who receive it to self-awakening and self-enlightenment. Here, said to self, 自悟自解, self-awakening and self-enlightenment. It's just that telling us that Buddha can show us the way. Our holy teacher can show us, can guide us destination. But to reach that destination, we need to walk. We need to walk on our foot. We need to depend on ourselves. We cannot say, oh, please take my hands and take my hands to heaven. We need to walk. We need to depend on ourselves. Of course, heaven helps those who help themselves. But our self-effort, we need to put in our self-effort first. So here, emphasize self-awakening and self-enlightenment. And fifth patriarch said, from ancient times, Buddha have transmitted to Buddhas the intrinsic essence only. And the patriarch have passed secretly to patriarchs the origin of mind. This too also very, very famous quote. 活佛为传本体，师师密付本心. Nothing else. So the robe and the bow is not important. And the robe has become the focus of conflict. And why? Because the robe is tangible. And because the robe, Ibo, the robe and the bow shows the status, the position of the patriarch. And it can be stolen. It can be taken away by force. But the enlightenment, but the royal merits and virtues of our true nature and your enlightenment, it belongs to you. It's intrinsic to you. It can never be taken away. But also, it's hard to, it's hard to realize. But the tangible thing can be taken away by force. So the tangible thing, the tangible robe, has become the focus of conflict. And fifth patriarch said, beginning with you, it should not be handed down. If you transmit this robe, your life will be like a hanging thread. You must leave quickly now. I fear people will harm you. Here, hanging thread is a metaphor, means to suspend a 100-pound rock with a thread, and the thread is surely to snap. So if, of course, the robe is very light, but in people's eyes, the robe represents the position of the patriarch. So it's just like a very important token. So people might fight for it. So if you transmit this robe, your life will be like a hanging thread. The hanging thread suspend a rock, surely to snap. And then sixth patriarch asked fifth patriarch, then where should I go now? And the patriarch said, stop at Huai and hide at Hui. Let's take a look at the map. Here, fifth patriarch received Dao in Huangmei, and then he walked south, toward the south, and later he will reach Dayuling. In Dayuling, he met a general called Hui Ming, and also a very 很有名的公案, a very famous case with Hui Ming. And then he went to Chaoxi, and then he went to Sihui. And before that, fifth patriarch advised him someday in the future to stop at Huai and to hide at Hui. And then he received the robe. He received the robe and bow during the third watch. And he said to the patriarch, I'm from the south and do not know the mountain trails around here. How do I get down to the Yangtze River? Because the monastery was located in the mountains. So if he want to travel to the south, he need to walk out of the mountain, and he need to walk toward the sides of the Yangtze River and cross the river, and then he can start to walk. But he did not know the way. How can he get to how can he get to the Yangtze River? He was so worried. And the fifth patriarch said, you need not worry. I will take you there. He accompanied me. He means fifth patriarch. Fifth patriarch accompanied Master Huinan all the way to Jiujiangyi and instructed him to get on a boat. And the fifth patriarch took the oar mercifully and rowed the boat himself. So you can see the fifth patriarch so mercifully. He must be much older than sixth patriarch, but he mercifully took the oar and rowed the boat himself. And then, very touching, the sixth patriarch said, Your Reverence, please be seated. Now your disciple should row. So we can see that apparently he was expressing that I am much younger, so it's my turn. I cannot let you, my teacher, to serve me. It's my turn to row the boat myself. But I feel that there is a hidden meaning here. A hidden meaning is that this disciple is not an ordinary disciple. This disciple is an enlightened one. So he already received the Dhamma and already got enlightened. So he should cultivate on his own. He should let his own intrinsic nature to ferry himself to the other shore. So here, six patriarchs show us a role model, an example that Buddha or our holy teacher can show us the way, but Buddha or our holy teacher cannot cultivate in place of us. 不能替我们修啊. So we need to cultivate, we need to propagate, we need to do the 内生外王 on our own. We cannot be just dependent on the divinity. We cannot just dependent on our holy teacher or on a never resting bodhisattva and take my hand and then take my hand to the heaven. We need to put in our own effort. But the patriarch very mercifully said, I should take you over to the other shore. But sixth patriarch insist, he said, when someone is deluded, his master takes him over to the other shore. But when he is enlightened, he takes himself across. Here, another very famous quote, 迷时失度，悟了自度. When someone is deluded, or like a holy teacher said that when we received Tao, within 3 years, our holy teacher shouldered our bad karma for us. So within the 3 years, all the new Tao members, they feel carefree. So during that time, it's the best time to help them to go to a Xinming class, 至善 class, pay the class, because during the 3 years, they are so carefree. But what about after the 3 years? Because a holy teacher just shoulder the karma temporarily for 3 years. After 3 years, all the bad karma may approach again. So it just here, 迷时失度, his master takes him over to the other shore when someone is deluded, 悟了自度, but when he is enlightened, he takes himself across. Huinan said, both are ways to get across the sea of suffering. From this shore, 此岸, from this shore of birth and death to the other shore of nirvana. But the function is different. If we depend on our holy teacher, we are not doing anything. We are just dependent. But if we can shoulder the responsibility, we can be diligent, we can be responsible and want to fulfill our vows. And because we have our self-effort and we know heaven help those who help themselves. So in this way, 天人合一的话, the power is even greater. So the function is different. And he said, since I was born in the countryside and did not speak the language properly, he was very humble. He was very humble now. And he said, I have received transmission of the Dhamma from you. I'm so blessed because I don't even speak language properly. And I have the luck to receive the great Dhamma from you. So Master, now I have now become enlightened. It's only appropriate that intrinsic nature ferries itself across. 自性自度, another famous quote. Intrinsic nature ferries itself across. And he said, after he bade farewell to the patriarch, he started out walking toward the south. And within 2 months, he reached Dayuling. The fifth patriarch returned to the monastery and for several days did not enter the hall. And the assembly was in doubt about this and went to ask, has your reverence some slight illness or problem? And the patriarch said, there is no illness, but the robe and Dhamma have already gone south. And they asked, To whom have you transmitted them? And he said, the able one obtained them. So here, the able one has two meanings. The first meaning is someone who is capable, someone who is qualified, someone who is eligible to be the next patriarch already obtained them. But the second meaning is, here is the answer. The name of that someone is, he has the character Nen in his name, because Hui Nen, Nen is the second character of the name of the sixth patriarch. So the assembly then understood what was happening. So coming after sixth patriarch were several hundred men who wanted to take away the robe and bowl. Unbelievable. They were all cultivators. But what were they doing? They want to fight for the token. They did not even think if they, well, I don't want to say too much. Among them was a monk named Hui Ming. When he was a layman, his family name was Chen, and he had previously been a general of the fourth rank. So this Hui Ming was previously a general, so he must be physically very fit and must be a fast runner. So he ran so fast and caught up with Hui Nen. And also he was coarse and excitable by nature. That means he had a bad temper, and he was intent in his pursuit. He was eagerly chasing after Huinan, so he became the first one to catch up with Huinan. Okay, my time is up, but I don't think to finish the content of chapter 1 is not my job, because it's just like 抛砖引玉. I think all of us, we can study on our own, and time to be on time is very, very important. But I have finished, although I don't have time to finish my humble sharing, but I already do the complete PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint is feel free to share. So I need to stop here, and because in the beginning I forgot to thanks to the grace of heaven, because time was looked so urgent, so I forgot to say 感谢天恩师德. So allow me to say that thanks to the grace of heaven, the virtues of our holy teachers, the mercy of our Lao Qianren and Qianren up in heaven, and thank you, masters. Thank you, lecturers, for your arrangements, and thank you, all my brothers and sisters, for your attendance. If I have made any mistakes in my sharing, I hope God and Buddha can forgive me, and I hope all the masters and lecturers and brothers, you can give me a comment. And thank you all. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for Lecturer Lin's sharing.